There's nothing more rewarding than being a creator. I think that is the biggest difference between successful people and people that are living a life of wanting more, is the people that are stuck in consumption mode versus creation mode.
Our guest today is a U.S. Army veteran serving in Iraq from 2003 to 2004, where he learned the true meaning of discipline and working for the good of the team. He was instrumental in growing a social media management company into an Inc. 500 fastest growing company as one of their first hires. He also built an operations system and the processes behind it that increased revenue by over $2 million in only 2 years for a digital advertising agency, placing them on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in back-to-back years. And he's also worked with dozens of small businesses to improve their e-brand and increase the revenue generated for their review sites and social media profiles. Welcome to the show, founder and CEO of #Smart Business Consulting, Paul Mackiewicz.
Yo, pleasure to be here, Mike. Super happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I've been excited to get you on. We talked a couple times, and now we're bringing the audience to this conversation. So really excited for you. I hope you didn't mind that I did like the hashtag symbol, like the SNL skit, or the is that Late Night with Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake had that little skit. So
yeah, man, you can't go wrong with it. Bringing a little pop culture into everything you do, right? That's social media is about engagement. That's why we're here, is to give people something to smile about.
You got hashtag in the name of your brand. Like, you got to do the hashtag symbol, right? So some people will get the reference. Other people are going to think we're weirder than we already are. So, hey, that's fine too. Thank you guys for being with us. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate you being here. Apple, Spotify, Google, however you listen to your podcast. Paul and I both are grateful for you hanging out with us today and learn a little bit more about his story. I want you guys to know that I have everything for Paul clickable in the description and also the show notes. So if you're looking for his website, it's #smart.com with hashtag spelled out. But you don't even have to worry about spelling it because I made that clickable for you, as well as Paul's personal social media. So he's going to be really easy to find. Paul, here's what I like to do. Some people are tuning in and learning about you for the first time today. I'd love to hear your origin story, from obviously up to the point of joining the military, huge moment in your life, right? And then how, after that, you decided to launch a successful marketing company. So there's a lot there. I mean, unpack it for us.
Yeah. I, we don't have 2 hours, 3 hours here, which is how long it takes to tell this full story sometimes, because I have one of those odd, meandering, circuitous career paths. So I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Diehard Bills fan still to this day.
Hometown boy. I got my Life Church Buffalo.
Hell yeah.
Or Life Church Buffalo shirt on. Love it.
So I grew up in Buffalo, went to college for a year, had no idea what I wanted to do, changed my major 4 times as a freshman, and showed up at my parents' house and said, hey, join the military. I leave in 2 weeks. Love you guys. See you in a couple of years.
Pause right there, though. Like, what was you don't just magically join. So where did you get recruited, or was there a table somewhere? What was that like?
Not even. So I had we'll say, like, delusions of grandeur growing up. Like, I thought I was going to play in the NBA until I was a freshman in college, and I was really not even that great a player. Like, I was a fine player.
Sure.
I had certainly sales ability. I have the gift for gab. I could talk to people all day. I'm very relatable, very easy to have a conversation with. My wife says that's one of her favorite things about me, is she could take me to one of her fancy Beverly Hills parties and just kind of leave me and be like, yeah, he'll be fine. He'll
be fine. Yeah. He'll mingle with somebody.
Yeah. And so, I just didn't know how to apply any of those things. So I went everywhere from, early education major to communications major to marketing major. So, like, I really just had no idea. And I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I always really loved golf. I didn't play it in high school. I played volleyball and basketball, and volleyball happened the same season. So I never played for school.
Paul, I've never seen you in person. Are you a taller glass of water?
No, not really. I'm like 5'9".
I mean, usually. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking basketball, volleyball usually, have height, but that not always. I mean, you look at Steph Curry. So,
I was a point guard and a setter. So I played the 2 short positions in both.
Yeah, that's cool though.
But yeah, growing up, it was, I mean, we had Elmo Meadows is the golf course that I used to play at all the time in Buffalo. And I'd throw my clubs on my back and ride my bike about 2 miles, play some golf and then bike home. Like I was a crazy kid. But I really enjoyed the sport. And so I was working for Dick's Sporting Goods and working in their golf department. And I was very, very good at sales with Dick's. Like I even went back to working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and we'll get to that. But I was just selling the guy golf clubs. He's asking me about my life, asking me what I'm doing. I'm like, I really don't know. I said, I truly had like no idea. I was like, I've changed my major a bunch of times. I love working. I love sales. Like, I think maybe I'll go into something like that, bigger. And he just dropped it on me. He's like, what about serving your country? And my father was in the National Guard. My grandfather was in World War II. He was a tanker in World War II. So I've always been very patriotic. I've always felt, I would like to serve my country in some way, whether it was like, maybe a political office some point or something. But, then this kind of dropped to me and it fell at the right time and I had nothing better to do, in all honesty.
Yeah. Interesting. I think there's a lot of people that are tuning in that either know somebody, they have a similar story, or maybe it's themselves nodding their head right now, that kind of felt like that was their, something they can do to try to find their way. Like maybe something will come through my experience that will, you know what I mean? And that kind of happened for you, because I know you've turned a lot of the disciplines and things that you've learned while in the Army. And I want to pause for a second and say thank you so much for your service. We cannot thank you enough. I mean, that's, we have the holidays and stuff where everybody puts on their social media, but it's literally a 365-day gratitude thing for me. That's what makes our country great and keeps us safe. So I just greatly appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, because the big thing for me too is after 9/11. Like 9/11 happened in September 2001. I enlisted as soon as I finished that school year. So I enlisted in June 2002. So it was, we had that patriotism kind of flowing through the country at that time, and I felt like I wanted to be part of it.
You were fueled up, yeah. So I did read this, do a little homework on you, Paul, that one of the major lessons that you learned from your time in the Army was, and the quote is, efficiency is key to the success of a mission while minimizing losses. I think that's really well said. Can you elaborate on that?
I think one of the big things that I've certainly learned in my career, whether it was military or even working for other digital marketing companies, is you learn often what to do, but you often learn what not to do.
That's like sports too, right? Minimizing your mistakes. Quarterback has that same thing. Tennis player, same thing.
So even when I enlisted, I went and I took the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's the big test you have to take to get in there. And I scored in the top 1%. So I was like, smart dude. Like, I naturally intelligent, but certainly wasn't applying myself, if you saw my college transcript. And so I went into the recruiting office and was like, what do you got for like 2 years? Yeah. And it was some garbage jobs. And I was like, well, what do you got for 3 years? And they're like, well, the one job you qualify for here is computer operator for field artillery. They need some smart people that are good on computers that can do the fire direction controls and make sure we're not blowing up anything we're not supposed to, and pretty much be like the control point for artillery units. And I was like, that sounds interesting. All right, I'll take that one. So when I joined, I did basic and my AIT, and not even 2 months after I got to my duty station, I was already on my way to Iraq. So I really, I kind of knew my unit. I didn't know them all that well, but also like I was 19. You're like still figuring out like who you even were. I guess I just turned 20.
You were in high school like less than 2 years earlier.
yeah. I had just
not even
turned
a year
20
prior, right? Yeah.
When I got deployed, and the sergeant that I had, a lot of people, there's a funny phrase in the military, you get promoted to your level of incompetence. So some people, like, you just get promoted over time, right? Because you're just in a role, and at some point, your time comes. And well,
so they focus on like the floor of somebody, like this is the least we can get out of them, so we're going to know if we promote them, they have to, at a bare minimum, provide us this, right? Is that kind of their thought process on it?
Yeah, for the most part. Like, there's just some people that you meet in the military where you're just like, okay, well, you're you're not going to be a sergeant major anywhere. Like you kind of understand some people's limitations.
Just like in a business, man. You know, there's going to be different people that can be in your CFO, and some people just don't have that. And they may be better as your frontline salesperson or your customer service reps, right?
Yeah, I go through the same thing today, running a team with us, and you kind of have to do that evaluation of people and say, like, can I put this person in a
put them in the best
role?
position for success for their personality traits, right?
I think that's cool. So important to running a business is the people, who, not how, right? My sergeant in the military, he was a super nice guy. Really liked him as a human, but he just he was constantly getting in trouble. Like, I was always kind of like his guard almost, because my unit, we're called the Fire Direction Control Unit. We were the smart guys in artillery, because you really didn't have to score anything on the ASVAB to be what we affectionately called the gun bunnies, pull string go boom. Their job was not very hard. Like, load a round into a howitzer and pull the string. Our job was like taking a call from, say, like a forward observer or an infantry member, and they'd call us and say, hey, we're taking fire, and they could give it to us like in mils, which is kind of like degrees to give us a direction from where they are, or they could give us a point and say, like, up on that ridge, 2 kilometers away, 2 clicks. And we'd have to put it to a computer system and like figure out where they are, and figure out as a round is traveling downrange, it drifts to the right because it's rotating that way. Figuring out what type of round we should use, figure out how much gunpowder has to go into it. So we basically use a computer program to figure this stuff out in about 25 to 30 seconds.
You were doing analytics just like you do now for running a social media ad or Google ads. You were doing that out in the field.
Yes, luckily a lot less destructive.
A/B testing.
There was a lot of A/B testings, because you'd shoot that first round and be like, nope, not far enough. Another click. I'm like, okay, type into the computer, like, figure it out and let it go. So that was basically my job in the military, and we were the very first artillery unit into Iraq. So we were providing downrange fire for quite a few units that were kind of going door to door and clearing towns and clearing cities and doing convoy missions. And then I spent about a year. I got extended twice while I was there. It was supposed to be a 6-month deployment, turned into 9 months, turned into a year. And then even when I got back, I still had to do one last convoy mission. So I was actually there a little bit longer than even the rest of my unit.
How were you able to stay in touch with your family? I always wonder this. I've had, a couple friends and family members in the Army, but I've never talked to them much about their time there. I kind of feel like it's something private where they don't always want to rehash some memories and stuff. But are you willing to share, like, what it was like, reaching back out to your family? Is it different than, we grew up seeing people writing letters, but that was a technology back then. Were you able to do, like, video calls with your family?
No. None of that, though. When I was there, it was the Wild West, right? Like, we took over.
This was 15 years ago, about?
20 years ago now.
Close to it. Almost 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, because I was deployed in 2003. At that time, we took over an abandoned cigarette factory in, like, the northeast corner of Baghdad. So we called it Camp Marlboro, was the name of it. So
it's funny.
Yeah, so it was an abandoned cigarette factory, and I could tell Army stories, all day, but at this point, most of them are like rehashing stories. I think my brain has done a good job of just kind of like blocking out a lot of it. I don't really think about it. I used to have bad dreams for a little bit, but I'm fine, right? Like, I'm a very optimistic guy. I've got a wonderful wife and kid. Like, I've got things to focus on in the future, not in the past. So I don't really think about it all that much. But as far as communicating with my family, at that time, we didn't have computers for probably the first 9 months we were there. So eventually they built us like this little computer lab where we could go and at least chat with people. Still couldn't really do video call at that time.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a satellite phone that you would line up and you'd wait in line for like an hour to 2 hours, and you'd get 15 minutes on the phone. So we had a satellite phone and then tons of letters. I still have a box, like a shoebox overflowing full of letters.
You weren't obviously married at that point, but were you with your now wife? Were you guys dating back then? And
no, we didn't meet until I was in my early 30s. So
Oh wow, okay.
I had a lot of growing up.
So
to
a lot
do
of
before.
letters probably back to your parents, and you had siblings and stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm one of six
really
kids.
Cool, man.
One of six kids.
Wow.
So lots of siblings.
Awesome.
I also have a very, very close group of friends. Still to this day. You know, a lot of the guys I played basketball with and volleyball with, and some of them I've known since I was like 5 years old. And we went to grade school together. And we still play fantasy
You would
football.
keep in touch with them as well. You would shoot them a note. Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome,
I was
man.
actually controlling my fantasy football team through letters to a buddy that was running it while I was in Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of trust. That's cool though.
Didn't do very well that year though.
Never know how he was watching that waiver wire. He might have just been like, "Oh, what do you know?
Well,
Randy Moss is just gonna slide his way onto my roster."
I was also usually like a week or two behind as far as like what was going on in the NFL. You know, it's not like
Yeah, but that's cool that you got to play and like stay engaged with your friends. During that time.
like as best as you could. But yeah, so I did 3 years in the military. I knew I was getting out. When we got back from Iraq, my unit went to Washington State, and so I was given the choice of like, hey, do you want to stay here in Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is like up in the backwoods in between Lake Charles and Shreveport, if anybody knows that, right by the Texas border. And they kind of gave me the choice, and they said like, well, if you're not re-enlisting, we're not going to bother relocating you across the country for a year. You know, why don't you just stay here and play oppositional forces? So there's a thing called the Joint Readiness Training Center, JRTC, in Fort Polk, where most units that are going to be deployed overseas, especially to the Middle East, they have a usually like 2 week to a month long stint there where they're trained. So I got to grow like whatever beard I could at the time and wear we call them the man dresses, but the traditional garb.
It's like a one piece.
Yeah, like the traditional Arab garb and the headdress and basically wear like laser tag gear. And I played laser tag training people that were getting ready to deploy themselves. And I got to like do some training on it, kind of I knew a little bit of Arabic. I don't remember.
I didn't realize you guys did that. So you actually had like live dummies out there. I mean, you guys are kind of dressed up in character so you guys could do some drills and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, and so it was me and another like about like 15, 20 soldiers played oppositional forces for the next year. So you'd be like living in the woods, basically like camping. And then the units would be
crazy.
Yeah,
man.
we had like 6 different towns that they would go into, and they'd have to try and help us run elections and things like that, which is basically all the stuff that I was doing in Iraq. A lot of like almost more military police work than artillery work. A lot of like guard duty.
Yeah, kind of undercover, not just in the trenches. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a lot
really interesting, man. And so what about your transition back into getting back into the workforce? What was that like?
Yeah, I got out. I'm going to condense this part of the story because it doesn't, this is the reason why most people for probably the next decade of my life didn't even know I was in the military. So when I got out, I enlisted because I wanted college money, right? I'm one of 6 kids. My parents aren't paying for school for me. Like, everything's on me. So one of the big reasons I enlisted was so I could just, let's get college paid for. Like, that was my feeling. It's like, I could give up 2-3 years of my life to go serve my country, but now I get college paid for. This is awesome. So I got out. I was dating a girl from Buffalo. Actually, she was going to Canisius. And she wanted to move to Atlanta. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. There's no point in me to go back to Buffalo from Louisiana. So the day I got out, I just drove to Atlanta, and her and I got a place, and I went and started working at Dick's Sporting Goods again because there's a brand new location. I was like, I've already got a good record here. Yeah. And I figured with my Army college money, and I also, because I scored so high in the ASVAB, I got this Army College Fund, which is additional to the MGIB, the Montgomery GI Bill. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have like a lot of money for college. I could live off this. I don't really need to work, but that could be like some supplemental income. And so I started going to Kennesaw State, which is just outside Atlanta. It's a really nice D1 school. I was like, let's go get that college experience. And the way it worked was they would send me a check, and then I have to pay for school. It's a little different now. Now they pay the school directly. But I get the first check, and it's about half of what I expected. And so I was pretty mad about it. So I was calling up the VA.
What was the explanation on it? Yeah.
Well, so I'd talk to Veterans Affairs and be like, hey, like, this is wrong. I got, GI Bill is 28,000. I got Army College Fund on top of that for, another 40,000. That's 70,000 worked out over 36 weeks. I should be getting, or 36 months. Sure. I should be getting like $2,000 a month at least here. And then I get my first check and it's like $900. And I was like, what is going on here? And I'll never forget this sweet Southern lady's voice, but she goes, you're not the first soldier I've told this to. You won't be the last, but you were deceived by your military contract. That 40,000 is actually a total combination of the two. And I was like, no, bullshit. Like, I signed one page for the GI Bill. I signed another page for Army College Fund. Those are 100% two different things. Ended up taking, like, long story short, 5 years of me calling congressmen, getting interviewed by USA Today, cussing out generals, cussing out colonels. Like, I was not happy about the situation. I had to leave that school. I had to work full time and to start taking night classes because that's all I could pay for. I didn't want to sit here and go and take out a bunch of college loans. Ended up taking me about 8 years to finally finish school, taking night classes and working full time. Eventually, one day, I finally get a letter because basically what it was the Department of Defense was saying, we don't have the money for this. And then Veterans Affairs is so you have to go to Veterans Affairs. They have to allocate that money in your contract. You have to get your contract corrected. So I go to Veterans Affairs and they say, well, we can't correct it because it doesn't fall under these guidelines. So then I found somebody that did get theirs corrected for the exact same situation. And they said, oh no, well, we don't do it like that anymore. You got to go talk to DFAS. And so I'm just getting sent out.
For every time you made a turn, there's another excuse. But that's just crazy that someone who serves the country, goes through what you went through, can get easily jerked around like that. I mean, obviously that doesn't make you feel good, and it doesn't make anybody listening to this feel good about it. But did they eventually square you up?
Yeah. No phone call, no anything. I just get a letter one day saying, we've reevaluated people in your situation. Well, what's really messed up about it is I get a letter one day saying, we've reevaluated your situation. You have to submit all of this paperwork all over again. So basically, I had to take the 5 years.
Start all over.
Yeah, I had to take the 5 years of stuff, submit all of this. Here's the messed up part. This impacted every Army contract from 1993 to 2007. And all of the contracts, if you got Army College Fund and GI Bill, all those people were screwed. It impacted over 100,000. It was like 103,000 people or something like that. After jumping through all the hoops and having to do all of the things, 700 of us got paid the total amount at the end of the day.
Do you think that they favored people like yourself who was beating a big drum?
Probably. I mean, I got USA Today to interview me.
So all that, probably did end up paying off, literally paying off.
It was a battle. It was a long time. But so anyway, that's one of the reasons why I never felt good about my service. I don't agree with the Iraq War now, looking back in retrospect, but but it is what it is. But now I do start leaning into the military side a little bit more, mostly because of the military veteran entrepreneur community. And I am really proud to be associated with a lot of those people because you do learn a lot of things in the service, like, discipline, hard work, integrity, loyalty, selfless service. These are all incredibly important things. So, and in my industry, because digital marketing, there's really no barrier of entry. Any guy could come off the street and be like, I'm a digital marketer.
Yeah, figure it out. Yeah.
I have a degree in digital marketing and a degree in marketing and organizational management. So when I started this company, I was just really blown away between those two other companies that you mentioned in the intro. Inc. 500, fastest growing company, and an Inc. 5000, fastest growing company. Both of them, the retention in this industry is just horrible. This Inc. 500 fastest growing companies, they were called Main Street Hub. They got bought by GoDaddy eventually. But average retention there was 7 months. That's not a long time to have a marketing company.
I worked at a company, I'm not going to name them, but they... I lasted 30 days there, and their average, in the 30 days I was there, I saw a dozen people probably start and leave. And then the only people that were there for a long period of time, everybody was extremely miserable. So very strange. Yeah. Similar experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, even the next company I went to, they were more websites and SEO, whereas the first one was more social media, reputation management, and like mobile websites. So I got this like nice big picture of all these different aspects of digital. But even their retention was less than a year. I was like, why can't people like keep their clients? Like, what is the missing?
Yeah,
what is the missing secret sauce here? So eventually, when I came out here to California, because my wife got her dream job out here, and well, actually, I guess I should reel this back a little bit because I worked for Dick's Sporting Goods for a long time. I became a golf pro for a few years. Greatest job ever. I just couldn't make any money doing it. So I was giving lots of lessons. I was running tournaments for people.
When you're saying golf pro, you mean that you were playing and you were actually in tournaments?
I was a member of the PGM, which is the Professional Golf Management Program, the PGA Management Program. So I went and I took the PGA player ability test, and I got a qualifying score, so I was allowed into the program. And then you have
that's incredible.
You have I wish I got to play more golf. I love it, but one of my long-term dream goals here is to jump on the senior tour when I turn 50. I don't think I can get out there and play with guys right now, but maybe when I'm 50, and then some of these older guys are slowing down.
I like that mindset, though. There's another opportunity, and then
Sure.
down the road, and you can keep practicing for that in your free time, and it's something you're passionate about, and why there's absolutely nothing wrong with it being a senior tour or whatever. Like, you can still do what you love. It doesn't matter how old you are or what part of your journey you're in. Like, you could still figure out how you can have fun doing something you love. I absolutely love that part of your story. I just want to say real quick, what I'd like to do, I know we have limited time together today. We're going to take a 2-minute time out real quick, give some love to our sponsors. And when we come back with you, we're going to talk a little bit more about business. We'll learn a little bit about digital marketing, some tips from you, and we'll even do a little lightning round to keep things flying. So we'll be right back, 2 quick minutes to give some love to our sponsors, and then we'll come back with Paul.
Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business.
All right, we're back in action with Paul Mackiewicz. You guys can connect with him on social media, and his website is clickable in the show notes, making it super easy to connect. So we're going to do a little digital marketing 101 here. I teased it a little bit before the break. So it's 2022 as we record this, right? So you gave us your story kind of leading up until getting back into the workforce, doing a little PGA action and having this vision to get out on the golf course. But you're also someone who started a great company, and a lot of people respect what you're doing. I know I do. And one thing I love about you, Paul, is you've connected it all together, like the relationship building, the disciplines you've learned in the military, the things you've learned in business, the things you've learned in sales, working at Dick's and working with a number of digital marketing clients, to kind of put it into this huge ball and molded it into this business that you've created. And I love it. So what I'd love to hear from you and learn is, what are the 5 must-haves for every business right now regarding digital marketing?
Oh, I love that. Put me on the spot. All right. So if I were to say the most important of all of them, obviously they need a website, but here's the more important part of the website, because I work with mostly law firms and medical professionals, and most of the medical professionals are in like the naturopathic side. So some chiropractors or osteopathic doctors. I don't work with traditional medicine for a few reasons, but we can get to that later. But with law firms and medical, so many of the websites are very, to be blunt, boring. There's zero emotional connection that people are forming when they're landing on them. And so I go into digital marketing very different. If you take a company like, say, like Scorpion or FindLaw, they want to take a law firm and put them into their box, right? Like, this is the nav bar.
Basically, like that we're doing it because we have to do it. Is kind of they're checking a box.
Whereas
you need a website. Here's a website. It's done, and it's very minimalistically functional.
And the website it's literally like the only place on the entire internet you control fully, right? Like that's the only thing you control every bit of that message. And so with it, I really dig into the conversation. This is my favorite part of what I do, is like strategizing and sitting down and being like, what are your value propositions? Like, oh, I do free consultations. I'm like, great. So does every other lawyer. Like, what's special about you? And I constantly dig and dig and dig. And I finally get them to talk about, they have a very diverse staff, and he did that on purpose because he always wanted to have, no matter who you were when you came in the office, feel like you had someone you could relate to. I've had some that really talk about how they want to positively impact their community, and they're giving back to their community, whether it be like after school programs or charities or donations, things like this. I have some that, you can always look to, like, say, big cases they've done, but like, why those big cases? One of my favorite clients is a civil rights attorney up in Detroit. He does a lot of employment law, and he just has so many amazing stories of taking people that were like wrongfully terminated, for racial or sexual discrimination, and getting these people compensation for this. I mean, right. It's just some amazing
stories. There's a powerful story there.
Yeah. And if you went to his website, you'd be like, oh, what does this guy do? Like, I'm like, let's tell the story. Let's do this. Like, let's, build an emotional connection with somebody. So anyway, that's what your website is truly there for, is for you to be open and honest and genuine and authentic with any person that's finding you online, and building that emotional connection, because the bounce rate on most websites is over 50%, which means most people are only on a website for less than a minute. So if in that minute you haven't displayed your value and given them a reason to like you and think that you potentially could be a trustworthy option to solve whatever problem they're going through, because for an attorney or a doctor, I mean, they're not in a good spot in their life, right? Like, they have a legal situation. Anybody that's been through a legal situation knows it's some scary shit, right? That's not like a good time of your life. Same with medical. You're not feeling well. You need to find solutions, and so really understanding that and helping law firms and doctors figure this out, because in the 8 years of school they go to, they have one business class. They literally take one business class. They don't even take a marketing class. So understanding who they are and how to convey that value is really something that a lot of them are missing. And there's not many marketing companies out there that want to take them and kind of like ease them through that process of discovering that about themselves, and then having the ability to actually display that online in a way that's going to generate leads and business and things like that. And so
is it that you were working with this particular lawyer or a particular lawyer, and then you kind of caught wind of like, man, look at these competitors, like everybody really needs our help, and that's why you focus on that industry, because it really needed help?
You know what? I think I've always been pretty empathetic especially in my sales side, like coming up with Main Street Hub. It was cold calling. I was dialing a phone 150 times a day to start, and I really wasn't making that many sales because I was following a script and being like, do you regurgitating these lines that are supposed to walk them down this journey. And then one day I was like, you know what? If I just have a conversation with them, like a genuine conversation, and just get these people to open up, and one, they're gonna like me more because they're not gonna care about what I know until they know I care, right? And I do genuinely care about small businesses, and it's become one of the focal points of my life here is like helping small businesses. I hate corporations. If I could not use Amazon, I would. Like, I just need them every once in a while. I believe much more in the local community and how you can impact that. So in working with those other digital marketing companies, like the phone calls people would be having, like their average call length would be like 2 minutes or a minute and a half, right? Like, and just smiling and dialing. Mine would always be like 13 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, I'm having these like conversations with people and helping them like think about their business in ways that they'd never done before, right? Like, what makes you special? Why, if I'm looking at you versus your competitor, why should I choose you? Why did you start your business? That's one of my favorite questions to ask. And you wouldn't believe how many people are like, nobody's actually ever asked me that. And I was like, how am I going to make you look great online unless I like know your purpose, know the story behind you. So I think that's really where our company kind of separates ourselves from, Fine Law, Scorpion, Justia, like in the legal realm. There's like Patient Pop, there's similar competitors in the medical realm. With a lot of those, it's you get what they give you, right? And I try to be, you get all of me. Right, you get me and my team actually caring and
the Swiss Army knife that you come along with. For sure.
But I think I've always just kind of been that way. I think I've always been a little bit more empathetic and loving to hear people's stories, and then now having the technical skills to actually build a gorgeous website and take those little nuggets that somebody says, like this attorney Drake Law Group up here in California. I remember him very vividly one day. I was like, what do you want people to feel when they hear your name, when they see your site, when they, find you on social media? What's the root emotion you want them to feel? And he's like, you know what? People are going through a legal situation. It's dark days. Like I imagine them like having clouds over them, and then the clouds are kind of breaking, the sunlight's coming in, like help is coming, better days are on the way. And so if you go to his website, you'll see it's him smiling, great suit, he's a good looking guy, and it's Los Angeles in the background, and the clouds are dissipating, the sun's just creeping up with some palm trees. Like it's meant to convey that emotion, like boom,
you
first
feel
thing
it when you get
to that
see
website. Yeah. And that just comes from conversations, like, and most other law firms, you get to the homepage and it's like arms folded, like under. And this guy was like, no, like I want people to feel like I'm a good guy, like I'm here to help, right? Like that's end of the day. So rewind this and get it back to your original question. Top 5 things. Number 1, a good website that actually genuinely conveys the emotional connection that you want to build with people and reasons that they should like you. Number 2, I would say, is Google Business Listing. It's where about 80% of people find a business, is through Google Maps, voice search. The information that's on your Google Business Listing does impacts where you show up on the maps. So it does impact like map SEO. There's so many features in there that people just don't utilize, like product and service cards, which is amazing. Like
it's the old adage of like good info in, good info out. Like if you don't have that info that Google can grab to better position you when people are looking for you, you're just not helping yourself.
Yeah. And if you think about how people make buying decisions now, I mean, we are a very distracted society. We're making decisions very quickly. If I get to, I'm looking at a map and I see 4.5 star, 3.5 star, boom, 3.5 stars gone. Right. So like, and then if I'm looking at like say 4.5 star, 4.2, and I click it and I look through some reviews and I see, oh, this guy here is actually answering his reviews. Like, look how much he cares. Like he doesn't just care in person, he cares online. So, we answer all the reviews for our clients and like always just make sure that they look like they're on top of their stuff. Even, if you type, so you get like a rideshare accident, like maybe you type like personal injury attorney or you type car accident attorney or something like that. But for like to just talk about Drake again, because he's an easy one to point to, he does a lot of Uber and Lyft accidents. So when you get to his Google Business Listing, it says like services. You click on it. There's these beautiful product cards with this logo and this kind of cool grayscale images, and it says rideshare accidents. You click on it. It's got a little description of it. Learn more. It takes you right to the rideshare accidents page on his website with the form and the one button calling and conversion and all that. But he gets so many leads just right through his Google business listing, just because it looks fantastic. The images that are on there, we even have some testimonial videos you can put on there, but the amount of people that just ignore that listing, or like, here's our hours of operation, here's our phone number, done. And it's just a massive, massive missed opportunity. So that's what I'd say is number 2.
So website, Google My Business, definitely
Google My Business
to the top. Yeah.
I would say number 3 is, well, we'll do it this way first. First, I'm going to say your business listings, because that is, you got to think of it in steps, right? 1, you got to be findable. People have to be aware you exist. And that's why you need a website and need, these listings, Google business listing being the most important of the listings. But then there are also hundreds of other listings out there. All of those are potential connections with people, or at least links back to your website. So Google sees more authority in your site. You could rank higher because of that, more citations. But also, you just never know where someone's going to find you, right? There's things out there like Alignable, which is a new one. Nextdoor is a new one. Like, you got to be on all these different platforms, because you just never know where somebody's potentially going to find you. And if you're not there, then you're not even in the conversation for them to consider you. So I would say that's probably the third most important, is just listings in general. And for that, you can use things like Yext, sign up. We have our own proprietary technology that we use for it that gets you on like 200 different business listings. So as long as you have there's tools in place, so you don't have to go to all these sites and do it all.
Manual. It's similar to like launching a podcast and having an RSS feed, and then it kicks it out to the right places. Yeah. It's
the exact same thing. I guess what do we got? 4? Number 4 here, I'd say is to kind of stay in that listing side is your review sites, but most importantly, Yelp. There's also industry specific ones, like attorneys have Avo and have Justia, medical as ZocDoc and RateMD and things like that. So we're very impacted by star ratings. So get 1 or 2 good reviews on there, on each one, answer them, display that customer service online. The reason I say review sites, but most importantly Yelp, is because Yelp is actually the main data source for all Apple products currently, until Apple releases their own review management system, which has apparently been in the works for like 7 years now.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's good to be there for that kind of that connection.
Yeah, and with the increase in voice search, that continues to grow exponentially year after year. Anybody can just do a little test themselves right now and just grab Siri and say, hey, Siri, find me a attorney in the area, find me a restaurant in the area, find me whatever you want. And you'll notice right underneath that listing says like 35 reviews on Yelp, this on Yelp. Mm-hmm. The images that are in there are the images that you've put on Yelp, hours of operation, all that data is coming from that.
So Apple is connected to Yelp, right? So you want to make sure that you are, if your Yelp isn't looking great, right? Pictures, listings listed correctly, everything's accurate, then potentially when someone picks up their phone and says, hey, Siri, take me to the nearest Italian restaurant, if your Yelp is obviously not updated, then that's right now where Apple's pulling a majority of its information, correct?
Yes, yeah, they pull it from a few sources. TripAdvisor is also another one that they pull big from, but if you're a professional service, anything from doctors, attorneys to plumbers, HVAC, all of that stuff, all of that data is coming from Yelp. So you got to be sure, one, you got all the information filled out, you got a few good reviews on there, you got that nice big red 5 stars, Yelp does a good job of differentiating their 4 stars, 3 stars, and 5 stars. So make sure you look good over there. Again, it's free. Yelp is going to pester you like crazy to advertise with them once you claim it. But I mean, if you don't claim it, that's literally just floating out there, right? And then what I would put as 5, still important, but we're seeing a significant decrease in the importance of it in the industries I work with, is actually social media. It's still very important, right? Like, people search on there for businesses.
I knew you were going to say that too, social media, but yeah, kind of interesting. So why do you feel that it's decreasing?
Mostly because the algorithm changes have really reduced. I think they've done a huge disservice for small businesses in general. Before, and any business owner that's been on Facebook for 10 years, can tell you this. I used to post and, I'd get tons of likes and people would be engaging with it and things like that. And now I post and I look at the views and it's like, I've got 2,000 followers and my views is 17 people saw it, right? It's because they do these engagement scores. They screw with the algorithms. So I talk about social media much more often as social proof, because
Yes.
if somebody is looking, social proof,
So true.
it's really two things, right? It's one, social proof is part of the SEO algorithm for Google. So if Google sees you have a Facebook page attached to your website and there's a lot of activity on it, you actually can increase your rankings from it. It's not a big one, but it is one of the factors in the algorithm. Another big part of it, though, is if I'm looking at 2 or 3 different law firms, doctors, whatever, restaurants, and I see a link to their social media on their website, or I'm comparing them on social media, and I see one that shows me something I can relate to, and I see another one that hasn't posted in 6 months. Cool. Like that's just one of those additional little pushes that's gonna allow me to really narrow down my choices. We call it the zero moment of truth, which is the zero moment of truth, ZMOT, is it's something Google came out with about 10 years ago. So it's not like a new concept, but that's how I always think of social media, because before it was always, awareness, make a buying decision, and then decide this was awesome or it sucked. It was always like first moments, awareness, the first moment, the second moment. So like the zero moment of truth is actually this comparison step, because we all have these computers in our pockets. So now we become aware of a business. We compare 2 or 3 of them. We read some reviews. We look at their social media. We're impacted by the visuals that we're seeing. Then we make a decision. Then we decide it was awesome or it sucked. So
There's the first time I made this thought, Paul, and I just want to share it. And I have a media and marketing background as well. That goes back a couple of years, and so I always remember hearing about like the importance of a website. It's basically your digital storefront, right? Heard that over and over. Digital storefront, right? Like, so what would your store look like? Does it have busted windows? Are the bricks falling down? Is the sign lit up? Is the S in your name on the sign blinking, or is it not even lit? Like, what do you look like when someone's coming up on that street, like your curb appeal, and they look up at your sign and see what you look like? So that's kind of essentially that first look of your website. But I feel like social media is similar, but the way that it's different, it's almost like, so if your website is kind of your digital storefront, I feel like social media is kind of like your more intimate hangouts, like the Christmas party you're at, the company party you're at, hanging out at the gym. People are getting to see what you're like in those other environments, not just your digital storefront. So that's not telling the whole story anymore. People want that little bit more intimate. Who's this? What's Paul all about? What's his company about? What kind of things are they doing in the community? And social media, even if it's a highlight reel and it's not 100% accurate, it gives you a little bit more layers behind it. I never thought of it that way, but that certainly makes sense.
yeah, I think that you actually put that very well. Like a website's not, you can only make it so personal, right? You're not updating your website every day with a new video or a new image or anything like that. But on social media, you certainly can. So I have this doctor, and it was a pain to really get him to talk about who he was, like what differentiated him, what were these value propositions, similar to what I run into with a lot of businesses. But after we built him this beautiful website that's very professional. He likes the professional website with lots of good testimonial videos, and then we're on his social, and he can only post like, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I do, acupuncture. I do this. Like, you can only post that so many times, right? You got to find some things that are fresh. And so I always talk to him about, I'm like, what's your favorite TV show? And I get them kind of going on that. I'm like, what's something about you people wouldn't know? What's your favorite sports team? Because you want to find these things that you can use to relate, but you're not going to plaster that on the website, right? So the social media is the perfect place for it. This guy finally opened up to me one day and talked about how much him and his kids love Harry Potter, and they put on the robes and they go to Hogwarts and they got the wands and they do all that stuff. So I was like, dude, you got to take me some pictures, right? And so now his social media, we do the Harry Potter stuff all the time. Yeah, he's a naturopathic doctor, and that's what he does, but now he's also got this other thing that people can relate to him on.
It's called a pulse. It's called being human. The guy has a life, right? And so you get to understand that he's not just a stiff in an office all day long. Like, he actually has a family, cares about, and that's super cool. I'm glad that you're pulling that out. Sometimes a lot of the people we're working with and you're working with are uncomfortable because they're not used to doing that. So we got to get them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, a lot of people, they think the internet is like permanent, and they think that if we put up a post, my team, some clients, most of my clients, I would say 99% of my clients absolutely love this, but you also get people that are like, oh my gosh, don't put it on the internet, right? Don't put it on the internet. I'm like, if you don't like a post, we'll just take it down. Like, Who cares, right? Like it doesn't. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not this.
And usually the one
scar
that
on you,
someone
right?
thinks is most embarrassing is the one that might be a little bit more vulnerable and actually go viral because it shows transparency, right?
Yeah, and really stretch that for them too. And the last thing that I just want to point out about this is, that's people buy from people they like. Like there's a reason I have an Army flag behind me. There's a reason, I drink out of a Buffalo Bills mug all the time when I'm on call.
Cheers to that, man. I don't have one in front of me, believe it or not. It's in the it's being cleaned.
Yeah, I mean, I post me meditating with my baby rolling around. I had my first kid in January, so like my kid's rolling around the ground, but I was doing some meditating out in the park with them. Like I want people to know the things that I enjoy, that I'm passionate about. There's even a video on there of me. I got my kid at the driving range, and I'm hitting a bucket of balls, and he's sitting here playing in the grass right behind me. So I was like, that's a perfect opportunity to show people like the real side of me too. Like I'm not. I don't just talk about golf. Here's me at the range, hitting balls, and here's my adorable kid because everybody on Instagram loves babies, right? And I got this cute little Gerber baby. So why not show off the things I'm passionate about in my life, my kid and some golf.
It shows that you're real, man. And so that transitions us right to the end of the episode here. I'm doing something new. I've only done this once or twice, and most of the episodes that I've recorded that have this added to it aren't even live yet as I say this. So as we record this, so I wanted to kind of like bring a little bit more lightheartedness and a little bit more in depth into the guest, but not just like premeditated questions. So we're going to do a little rapid fire.
Let's do it.
You ready to rock and roll? Let's do it. We're going to try to keep these answers short and concise. A lot of times rapid fire ends up going into another story. So let's try to keep it as rapid as possible. Favorite book?
Ooh, I have so many. I'll tell you the book that I'm really into right now, which is Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi.
Awesome. Would you rather be skiing or snorkeling?
Snorkeling.
Something unique about you. Could be anything. Talent, trait.
I absolutely love Marvel movies.
So favorite location you've ever visited?
Costa Rica.
Cool. We'll talk about that later. Greatest fear?
Not being able to build the life for my family that I think that they deserve.
Yeah, I love that, man. So you mentioned Marvel, so maybe pick something different. Other than Marvel, what's a favorite movie that you love to go back to?
Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's top 3 movies I've ever seen.
I've never even heard of it. Am I living under a rock?
It came out maybe a year ago. Yeah, I think it might be on HBO Max or something right now. But everything everywhere all at once, I believe is the name of it.
All at Once. Who's in it?
Yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Michelle Yeoh is in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm looking for a good. I like to one night a week I'll watch a movie, and it doesn't really happen all that often anymore. But I try to have 1 hour, 2 hours of personal time.
It will blow your mind. It's true, top 3 movies I've ever seen.
That's awesome, brother. I'm looking forward to it. What's the best compliment that you can personally receive?
That I'm honorable.
Honorable, yeah. If you could be any animal, what would it be?
I think I'd say a monkey, but sloth is close.
Yeah.
Sloths look like they live a pretty dope life. Oh,
they're just hanging.
They're hanging out. They're spending all that time with their family. They got literally lashed onto them. I chill with my son all day.
No care in the world, man.
No care
I'll
in the
get
world.
there when I get there.
Yeah,
I'm just hanging out, eating. They're usually eating all day long. Yeah.
But also monkeys because they still got the agility. They could do some, but they still also
they could hang around and chill.
But
they can get out of there in a hot second if they wanted to, right? What's your greatest natural skill, would you say?
Making connections, not necessarily with people, but with concepts that generally people don't see the connections between them.
Mm-hmm. Light bulbs are popping. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
Paul's figuring it out behind the scenes. Yeah, right. And last one for you. If you can time travel to any place, anytime, where would you go?
Oh my gosh, so many places. I think I'd like to go back to creation.
Wow. Dude, that's awesome, man. Are you a believer?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Me too. And yeah, I'd have to agree that's got to be on the top of the list to see the magic, right?
That's I gotta tell you, we might have to handle this offline in a project, but I've been mulling this idea around lately so much because I do love some VR every once in a while. I'm actually pretty pumped for the new Oculus to come out. But I would love to see like a VR Christian program where you could actually like be in the experiences of the Bible. I think that that would really awaken a lot of believers out there, or really, shake some people to.
I agree. I mean, there's so many different things that are still are definitely historically documented that you could. That's not arguable. Well, very, very interesting. Did you see the new series? It sounds like you're a movie guy and enjoy great content. Have you seen the new show, The Chosen?
I haven't. It's so I just learned about it like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Fantastic. Yeah. I like I said, I don't watch enough. I'm like the opposite of most Americans. I really don't watch TV anymore, other than I put sports on in the background on mute when I'm working, and I watch Aaron Judge try to get to 61, 62 home runs as I'm working. But I've watched a few episodes of this now because a bunch of friends at my church have recommended it in our small group too. It's really well done. Like, it's as good as like any production, and it's really, really awesome to see it. The guy who plays Jesus obviously looks like him, but he's like so locked into that character. It's really, really good. Check it out.
I certainly will. How do you watch it? Is it?
So I don't know if this has changed, but I don't know if you can do it on YouTube, but there is an app and it's free. It's a crowd-funded platform. And when you get the app, you can watch it, and then you can donate if you want to. At the time I watched it, it was optional, probably still is. So did you find it?
Yes, it's on Peacock, which we have a Peacock.
Now they have it on Peacock too. So yeah. There you go, brother.
Boom. That's gonna be my wife and I. We need a new show. Our favorite shows are all like we love Survivor. We love The Amazing Race. So probably like two of my favorite shows right there. But
watch some of the behind the scenes with the director, and he like talks about the location and how they did it a little bit behind the scenes. And the guy just is like the mix of passion, talent, and purpose is just like, it's a perfect blend with him. So
cool.
Definitely want to give him love. All right, we're going to wrap up here. It's such a fun interview. I'm glad that we got to get a little bit outside the box today with your story up front and some of the rapid fire questions here. I'd like you to deliver a nice message here for anyone who's still with us, and we appreciate you being with us again on YouTube or any of the audio platforms as well. You're tuning in, you're listening to Paul. You heard his story. He's a successful entrepreneur. Paul, give us kind of a treasure at the end of this conversation here that the people who have stuck with you can come and get. Say they're starting out, they're contemplating entrepreneurship, they're a little scared, their family's kind of talking them out of it, their friends are talking them out of it, and they are on the fence, and they're not sure if they should get started. What would you tell them?
There's nothing more rewarding than being a creator. I think that is the biggest difference between successful people and people that are living a life of wanting more, is the people that are stuck in consumption mode versus creation mode. And so I'd say that entrepreneurship is being the ultimate creator. You're building a business, you're building content, you're building relationships, you're building. And it's the most rewarding thing that you could possibly do. It's create all day.
Mic drop moment right there, Paul. You left the treasure there, and you delivered, man. This is a lot of fun. I know we've talked a few times. You're someone who I now consider a friend. We got the Buffalo connection. Where are you currently living? Are you moving back to South Carolina? Is that right?
Yeah, we're currently in Los Angeles, but we will be, by the time the show comes out, we'll be in South Carolina.
One thing I love about Paul, guys, is you're not afraid to move. You're not afraid to try something different. I mean, you literally joined the military just like, oh, yeah, let's do that. You're someone who is willing to go and kind of play in the sandbox. And when a girlfriend says, let's move to Atlanta, that sounds fun, you're like, okay, cool, let's try it. So you're not someone who's afraid of giving something a shot. And I think the fact that you've taken so many shots in your life, similar to Michael Jordan shooting at the hoop, and you mentioned you like to play basketball, so you got admiration for someone great like that. A quote I've shared a few times on the show is, he claims that his success is not because he just hits those game-winning shots. It's the 9,000 shots that he shot and missed, but he does 9,001.
Yeah.
9,002. And he just keeps trying and figuring it out and getting better. And that's what you've been doing, man. You've been kind of shape-shifting yourself a little bit in different stages of your life. And before you know it, you'll be on the PGA Senior Golf Tour holding up a cup. And it'll be on whatever social media channel is out in that year.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. I'm super grateful for you and giving me this platform, this ability to come out here and tell my story, because stories are what allows people to be relatable. And one of my biggest issues that I have is I don't give myself credit very often. So hearing you say that is very nice and truly greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely deserved it. You earned it, and I appreciate you being real about it and sharing the fact that sometimes it's hard. Like, we humble ourselves in the reality of life, and we go, and we don't always stop to take that breath of fresh air and say, man, I'm worthy. Worthiness is something a lot of people struggle with, and so maybe take an extra moment today to reflect. Paul Mackiewicz delivered today, my man. And I really appreciate you, brother. And I just want to remind everyone that's tuning in here again, go to #-smart.com. It's clickable in the show notes. Check out the website. There's a lot of great content there and social media as well. Paul, thank you for being with us today, brother. 2 last things I tell everybody is to remember to be great and be grateful. And you do both of those extremely well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MikeDiCioccio. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.